remember when I'd go in Prabhupada's room to take him the prasadam, I felt like I was in a fishbowl. Because when you're in a fishbowl, everyone's looking at you. I felt like there was no secrets I could have from Prabhupada. He could see right through me and see exactly to who I am. So being there with Prabhupada, of course, was a great thing to have. Then after Prabhupada had gone away, then my mother came to visit Mumbai. And my mother was actually an attorney, and she'd done some work for the devotees there, and she was particularly a trust attorney. So Prabhupada asked the devotees, we need to write a Bhaktivedanta book trust. Can we use an attorney? He says, well, Kshudhi Dasa's mother is an attorney. Why don't we use her? So she went to see Prabhupada, and she spent a couple hours with Prabhupada discussing all the details. I actually have a DVD disc with my mother talking about her experiences with Prabhupada. Because then she came to visit me in Mumbai, and after my mother had done the legal work with Prabhupada, because she discussed all the details of the book trust, she made the book trust a legal entity. And I remember when my mother had passed away like 8 years ago, one of her secretaries, Jean Cadwell, was there. And Jean Cadwell was the witness for the Bhaktivedanta book trust. If you see it there, it says witness by Jean Cadwell, because she was my mother's secretary, and she came up with her. So she was the witness on the documents of the Bhaktivedanta book trust. So that's a great glory for her that she got to be the witness of signing the documents for Bhaktivedanta book trust. So when my mother came to Mumbai, she said, guess who I've just been with? And she told all devotees, I've been there with Prabhupada. And I asked her, did you ask Prabhupada if he knew who your son was? And she said, yes. I asked Prabhupada, do you know who my son is? And Prabhupada says, yes, he's the young brahmachari in Mumbai, isn't he? Because I was like only 18 and looked about 13. So my mother got to meet with him. And as I said, I have this whole disc of Prabhupada. My mother went to a women's conference of devotees and talked about her experiences with Prabhupada and her experiences with the devotees in different parts of the world. Maybe you can make a copy of that if you want. But she came and visited the temple there, and then we also got to go to Vrindavan, and we got to see the Banki Bihari and Govindaji's temple, and we went to Radha Damodar. But during that time, we didn't go to Juhu or to Krishna Balaram Mandir because they weren't open yet. This was 1971. No, this was 72. Was it? Wait. No, this was summer of 71. So from there, I went to Mayapur, where Prabhupada was going to lay the cornerstone. And Rishi Kumar Swami said that he wanted to go to Africa. And he said he asked Prabhupada if I could go too, and Prabhupada said yes. And I thought, why me? And then I thought, well, why not me? So we went to Mayapur, and Prabhupada laid the cornerstone for Mayapur, and he went in to put dirt in, and his godbrothers went in, because all of his godbrothers came. Then the sannyasis went in, and then I got to go in and put in dirt. And it was very brilliant the way Prabhupada approached it, because he said to his godbrothers, he says, now that we're all together, he said, we will do what our spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada wanted. We'll form a governing body, and from today forward, we'll work as one movement instead of so many different groups. And they all went jai, but they didn't do it. But it was brilliant. He just sort of assumed that that would be the next step, that from today forward, we'll work as one movement. And they all agreed, but they didn't get around to it. So the next day, I went into Srila Prabhupada's room, and I said, Srila Prabhupada, I'm going to Africa now. I hope this gives me an opportunity to increase my service to you. And Prabhupada put his hands behind his head, and he simply said, service to Lord Caitanya, service to Lord Caitanya, service to Lord Caitanya. And about this time, Mr. Nair said he would give us a piece of land to use for a temple in Juhu. And it turned out Prabhupada had actually prayed for this piece of land, which is where we are right now in Juhu, that before he went to America, he prayed to Krishna that I'd like to use this land to build a temple at. And this is what Mr. Nair said that he would give. Of course, then he said there was a loan to pay off and a few other things to pay, so it ended up being a big fiasco to actually acquire proper title to the land. But by this time I was on the way to Africa, and I was there with Rishi Kumar Swami. And if you listen to Nectar Devotion 1 tape, about 33 minutes in, Prabhupada talks about how he got a letter that Rishi Kumar and Kshudhi Das, he calls me a Bengali pronunciation, Kshudhi Das, are in South Africa preaching there. So he mentions that there. Then one day I wake up and Rishi Kumar is gone, and I find a note that just says, "Dear Kshudhi decided to split." So I find I'm all alone in this country, where I'm 2 miles from any neighbors and 2,000 miles from any devotees. So I thought, well, I don't want to make Rishi Kumar look bad, but I don't want to hide what he's done either. So I'll just write to Prabhupada and tell him that he left me a note just saying decided to split, and he took the money with him. So I sent copies to Karunder and to Brahmananda, GBC in East Africa, but the letter from Prabhupada came back the quickest. And I wondered why it could come back, and Shaimashindra told me because he used to open the letters and see what was in them, and he told Prabhupada, a letter came from Kshudhi Das, and he said that Rishi Kumar left him alone with the only explanation, decided to split and took all the money with him. So it wasn't a huge amount, maybe a couple $1,000s, but we owed $12,000 to the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust. So I wrote to Prabhupada that, and I said, if I owe $12,000, which I plan to spend more time distributing books and less time doing programs, because my first duty will be to pay off the book debt. I said, so if I order $3,000 more worth of Gitas, then I'll tell the people they can't have the Gita unless they buy the whole set of books. So I thought maybe, I said I would make incense sticks to sell when I sold books or to sell at programs, and I thought maybe I'm in trouble for making so many decisions. But there weren't any devotees there. I would have even asked neighbors if I had any neighbors, but there was no one else to ask, so I just had to make the decisions. So a letter came back quickly, and I opened the top, and the first line said, "I'm very much pleased." So I thought, well, this is good. If the first line says, "I'm very much pleased," I'm not in trouble. And he says, "I'm very much pleased at the responsibility you've taken to spread Krishna consciousness in South Africa at such a young age." He said, Rishi Kumar was tempted by Maya and he fell, but now I'm going to advise him just to work on his own spiritual life. And he said, somehow or other you are left alone by like our Narada Muni, and Narada Muni became one of our greatest devotees. He said, so now I am praying to Krishna that you will have the strength and enthusiasm to carry out this mission. He says, chant your 16 rounds and follow the 4 regulative principles. This will keep your consciousness pure and eager to engage in devotional service. So I felt very encouraged by that, letter. And Prabhupada had asked Brahmananda to come down, but he kept writing me letters on the way. And when he got to the border, they wouldn't allow him in because he had African devotees with him, and blacks from other countries were not allowed in South Africa. And then Prabhupada sent Duradarshan, who stayed a few weeks and then left. So basically I was there for 6 months alone, and then Prabhupada had asked Pushta Krishna to come. So when the police caught up with me in South Africa, I'd sold enough books to pay off the book debt. So since Pushta Krishna was coming, I called him and says, you got to be here tomorrow. And he showed up the next day, and I gave him a car, and I gave him $4,500 worth of books that were paid for, and I was off to America.